Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harry Bumpet. Welcome back to another Starcraft 2 Daily Masters cast. Got another awesome game going on for you here today. Let's start off by introducing the players down the bottom left side of the map. It is going to be Mr. JJ. He is 20 years old from South Korea, plays for the MY Insanity team, and there we go. He's got another one of those beautiful icons. You don't see it for every team, but just starting to see them for a few teams out there now, so pretty awesome stuff. And up the top right side of the map, it is going to be Mr. Rain. He is 21 years old from South Korea, plays for the SK Telecom team. That's what that SKT stands for. And yeah, so it's going to be a PvT game going on. We just finished up with our round of 3 mirror matchups. And yeah, so going to keep on getting the awesome games out there. And yeah, should be very awesome. The probe getting a nice little bit of scouting. It's a little bit early, I suppose, to see what's going on, but at least it'll see what comes out of here. I assume that's, yeah, I don't know. He's just seeing a barracks so far. So he has definitely made sure that there is no command center before barracks build going on. That's a little bit scary when you see that, because then you know, I'm guessing if he didn't see a barracks coming up and he saw a command center instead, he may have gone for a Nexus before a Cybernetics Core, but in this case he went for a Cybernetics Core, and that should be fine. We do not have a second gas yet, so no early Stargate build as far as I can see. Looks like it's just going to be some other pretty standard sort of stuff. It's actually interesting. There we go, Nexus going down, managed to build that. The worker not going to be able to get in there at all. And the Mothership Core is going to be coming out straight away, and it's going to be able to deal with any sort of Reaper harass or whatever else comes around in the very early game. So very early harassment, the Mothership Core can deal with that quite easily. It's when you start getting into air harassment like Banshees and all that sort of crap that the Mothership Core starts to have a little bit of trouble, but it's doing pretty well so far. So here we go, the second gas, and here is where we might start to see a Stargate come off the second base. Not an ultra fast Stargate, but he's got to keep up with the macro that Mr. JJ is putting up. Where's his command center? Over there, so. Ah, oh, bloody oath. And I need a drink, but my drink is out, so. Another drop. There we go. Alright, we'll just have to see how it goes. Might have to pause this game halfway through and go get a drink if my voice starts acting up, but for now it seems to be pretty good. So anyway, good stuff so far. Mr. JJ getting a good hold on the Zelnaga Towers. We've got the expansion just coming up for Mr. Rain. JJ must have built a little bit late. I thought JJ had built it a little bit sooner, but apparently not, and he's still got to get that into an orbital command, so that's going to take a while. Got a starport coming up for Mr. JJ, almost certainly going to be for medevacs at this stage. I can't imagine he's going to be going for Banshee play this late into the game. I mean, it's a 6-minute mark, so it's not late, but it could still work. But yeah, it does seem like does seem like we've progressed past the point where you're just sending out harassment units. I mean, we've got an observer coming out already for Mr. Rain. We've got a bunch of stalkers all over the place, so sending a Banshee in there will be a little bit dodgy. I mean, stalkers and observers, they will just own that Banshee all over the place. And look at this worker, does totally get screwed over, man. Really badly. It's actually on fire. I don't know how, but I suppose it's mechanical, so they can sort of go on fire. But everything else going pretty good. Mr. Rain is going for armor before weapons. We have seen this a lot with Protoss players. They go straight for level 3 armor without really worrying too much about the weapons. And the main reason for that is you're going against a Terran player. Their main damage output is going to be Marines. And of course, armor definitely gives you a huge advantage versus small, fast hitting units, where they hit really fast but don't do a lot of damage. Against stuff like tanks, armor don't do that much. And if you was going off against a large mech army, I'm guessing weapons would be a better tactic. But against Marines, wow, what's he doing here? He's sending the medevac over with nothing in it. I guess he just wants a scout or something like that. Or maybe he made a mistake there. Maybe that's a huge mistake. He just forgot to load it up. I actually have no idea what's going on there, but Actually put a scan down there. He was maybe looking for this observer, but this observer is a little bit out of range. And this medevac, I don't think it was a scout because he didn't scout anything. So I think that was just a bit of a whoopsie from Mr. JJ. Forgot to load up the medevac. But here we go, sending out a bunch of forces right now. Look at this beautiful label there. Imagine how creepy it would be if this is real life and they're just walking along the ground. They see this giant label just in the middle of the ground. It's like, yeah, it's a bit nasty. But got some nice observer coverage. Rain getting out a bunch of observers really far into the game. 5 total. Really nice stuff. The observers running out do see this massive army, and they're actually sending forces over to chase here. But this is a lot of Marines, and this oh, look at all these workers, man. All of these workers are going to go down. Oh, they're going to be running. So Marines. Oh, here we go. Nexus overcharge. They choose not to go for the Nexus. I guess they're too worried about the Stalkers coming in and ripping them apart. They're stopping, they're turning around, hitting the Stalkers, but they're still in range of the Nexus, and that Nexus really does wipe those Marines out quite quickly. I think it's like 2 or 3 hits to kill a single Marine, which is not a lot of hits. There's a fairly low amount of hits considering it does shoot every 2 seconds, so that's like 6 seconds to lose a Marine. And over a longish, shorter battle, that's a lot of Marines that do go down, considering it's static defense as well. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Factory just going over there, so obviously he's not thinking about building Widow Mines. I don't know, I mean it does seem like, Widow Mines are not as useful as they are versus Zerg. Against Protoss, a lot of really heavy units, and the Widow Mines have a lot of trouble doing really good splash damage, because Zerg, basically their MO is mass up a whole crap load of units, and the units aren't necessarily that robust by themselves, but because you got so many of them, that makes up for it, and because they cost so much less, and Widow Mines really take advantage of that. But then again, with Protoss, it's more high cost units that are very robust, so Widow Mines not so much. So anyway, we do have a bunch of Vikings coming out, and here we go, the medevacs over here, but there's no way they can get into this base undetected. Too many observers. I think they already got spotted by this one. So Mr. Rain knows that they are coming, or knows that they are thinking about coming, but he's being a little bit edgy here, just staying in, and medevac shooting on in, but scans, sees that massive army, and pulls back immediately. So great job there. And I mean, at this point, JJ, I don't know, maybe you should just get a Raven at this point, because there's so many observers out there. Takes out a pilot and then backs off straight away. That is very, very good job there. But I mean, it's just a single Raven, just to see these damn observers. Just build like 2 of them and then swap the starport back over to a reactor, because that's really just an obscene amount of observers all over the place. I mean, if we have a look here, this is how much vision that Mr. Rain has. He's got vision all over this area, this entire area. He sees everything. And it's all because of those observers. So it's a really, really great job there, getting all those observers early on and just sitting them there, just sitting them in these beautiful spots. So here we go. Not really a major engagement going on yet. Both players pretty much even. Worker numbers pretty much even. Both players thinking about a 3rd base. We do actually have the 3rd base up already for Mr. JJ, so good stuff there. He doesn't really have the workers to take advantage of it, but he is continuing to build workers, so maybe he's going to cap out at about the 60 mark, maybe the 70 mark, I don't know, but he's going to be pulling ahead a little bit, and yeah, he's got a pretty good army so far. Getting the goats out as well. I don't know whether Rain has High Templar. I don't think he does. I think he's just focusing on the robotics tech and on the gateway units at the moment, so Mr. JJ falling back here. But he is going to have to go in there and start wiping them out pretty soon. He's got 6 Vikings versus 4 Colossus. That is not enough Vikings, especially with all these Stalkers here. The Stalkers do have Blink. He really needs to bulk up those Viking numbers if he wants to have any sort of chance of dealing with this massive army from Rain, because it's not going to be enough. He really needs a lot more Vikings. He's getting some Ghosts out, but they're going to be good for EMP, and that's pretty much it, because there's no High Templar for them to deal with. I mean, yeah, maybe it's a little bit surprising that Rain hasn't got a Templar Archives by now, because it makes sense to have both of those options available, the Colossus and the High Templar, but he hasn't done it yet. He's just continuously focusing on the Colossus And that's going to give him an advantage because he's going to have a huge Colossus army here. Oh, just managing to get out of there. Oh, the Colossus actually hit their own Stalker. Did you see that? Colossus just wiped out their own Stalker. That's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Finally, the Observer getting taken out, and there's another Observer running on in. Actually, just flies into the scan zone while the scan zone is still going, so crazy stuff there. Oh, the Vikings going for the Colossus. Oh, they are way out in the bad part of town. Vikings going to get wiped out left, right, and center. I do not agree with that move at all from Mr. JJ, man. He's going to lose a ton of Vikings here. It just basically just attacked moved him into the Colossus, and he may have killed one Colossus, just knocked up a second one a little bit, but he's still got 3 Colossus. They're falling back very well. However, the ground army is going to be doing a lot of damage, so he bought himself enough damage on the Colossus for his pretty huge ground army to go through and wipe out the Colossus, and they did eventually have to fall back. And I gotta say, he just used brute force there to get in. He just had so many ground forces. He has used brute force, and it didn't matter that he made, I'm gonna say, a fairly big mistake with his Vikings, losing all of them. He should have flanked from the side. I mean, he was going in here, you send the Colossus from this side, you gotta flank with the Colossus. Unless your main army is directly under you, you cannot just move your Vikings straight ahead and not back them up with your main army. You have to either flank them, or you have to have your main army right underneath them. Otherwise, Vikings will get wiped out. And I mean, that's exactly what happened. The only reason JJ won that army is because he had such a bulky Marauder force, and they ripped through the Stalkers, and then they ripped through everything else. And I think if Rain had a lot more Zealots and Zealot speed, then JJ would not even have gotten that much last time. I think if you made that Viking move out there and Zealots with speed were in the army, I think that JJ would have got absolutely owned. But regardless, he did move in there, and he did take out a lot of Colossus. So now Rain is going to have to back up with his Colossus building tech. It's going to take him a while. And JJ, he's got to build up as well. His Viking numbers got decimated. Most of his ground forces got decimated as well. It was kind of a reset. But JJ does have... Oh, no, he doesn't actually have an advantage anymore. Where did he lose a ton of workers? Did we miss something here? There's like a DT came in here. It wouldn't have been a DT, probably just a bunch of Zealots, but... I think maybe, yeah, we did miss something. Medevacs coming in, not good at all. Dropping down. He's dropped down a fairly decent amount of units. And instantly, what does Rain do? He moves over to defend his third man. What a master of tactics right there. Knows he's got enough forces there. So instead of doing the rookie mistake, which you still see from some Masters players every now and then, of moving every force to go there to completely wipe it out, he just leaves the forces over there that he knows can probably hold off. He sends his main army over to the third base. He knows that a two-prong attack is on the way. He sends his third army over there. Great play there from Rain. And Mr. JJ up here, what is he going to be able to do? He's got a very decent army. He has built up a very nice amount of Vikings. I think he's got the potential to do a lot of damage here. He's going to have to avoid doing what he did last time, which is exposing the Vikings. Here we go. This is a lot better. The Stalkers do get in close, but the Stalkers open themselves up to heavy Marauder fire by trying to get in. This is a little bit dodgy. The Vikings chasing the Colossus do get a little bit ahead of the main army, which is trapped very nicely by the force fields. If Rain had more forces, he could have trapped them longer with the force fields, and he could have just shredded those Viking numbers. He didn't have that much left over. Here we go, nice Stalker blink over to the side, taking out the Vikings once again. But yeah, I do not know, man. He's sending out some workers. He's very worried. There is a large amount of Marauders here, and they're trying to chase the Colossus in. One Colossus goes down, the other one just about to go down as well. He's exposing a lot of his Marauder forces, and the Zealots are doing their very best, as well as the Stalkers, to really take this out. I gotta say that once again, Rain needs more Zealots right here. He's got a nice amount of Stalkers. He's dealing with the Vikings beautifully. He needs more Zealots to deal with that massive amount of Marauders and Marines. I mean, especially the Marauders. You send Zealots against the Marauders, it is beautiful. If you just have Stalkers facing the Marauders will own them. Need the Zealots, man. You need a large amount of Zealots to deal with this sort of stuff. He's actually going for Immortals, which is good, but still you do not want Immortals exposed to a bunch of Marauders. That is not going to help you that much. It's going to help you a little bit, but the key is Zealots, at least as far as I'm concerned. Zealots with speed, you hold the main army back, you give your Stalkers time to take out the Vikings, and then you've still got your main army of Stalkers ready to do the damage to the rest of the forces, to the ground forces, because that's what you need. You need the Stalkers to really hit those guys. The Colossus, they're hitting them regardless, but you need the Stalkers to really help you finish that off, and the Stalkers only survive if the Zealots are there to protect them. So it's like 3 layers. So you've got the total buffer zone, then you've got the anti-air heavy ground DPS zone, which is the Stalkers and the Immortals, which you need to be able to take care of the Vikings. So they're not only the heavy ground defense, but they're also the mobile anti-air force. And then you've got the Colossus, which is like the artillery at the back. So you got to protect your Colossus, but if you're thinking smart, you've got to protect your anti-air force as well, because if you leave your anti-air exposed to the Marauders, you will lose them, and then the Marauders just rush in there, finish off the Colossus, and it just doesn't work at all. So starting to build a lot more Zealots. Nice, taking out that Widow Mine, and here we go. There's a bunch of Marauders coming in, and you see the Marauders, they're getting stuck up on these Zealots, and Dez actually pushed him away. I think the Zealots are actually doing a lot of damage. His Zealot legs would be so awesome at this point, really help him. But you can see there, almost none of the Stalkers died. They did snipe an Immortal, but most of the Stalkers did alright. They took a fair beating, but they survived quite well, and it's a fantastic player, I think. He's even got a Zealot in there, why the hell not? Here we go, main army coming in, and the Zealots once again soaking up a lot of damage. He's got a bunch of them coming in here. The Marauders are starting to press through. They're fresh through the Zealot line, and here we go. Now you start to see the damage. Oh, there's still a few more Zealots there. Once they take out the Zealots, though, you start to see the damage that gets done to the Archons, that gets done to the Stalkers. They just get absolutely overwhelmed so fast by these heavy-hitting Marauders. They just go down. I mean, JJ doesn't have too many forces, but he's got enough, and it's just boom. These Stalkers just go down like you would not believe. Why is he sending workers out? Both players lost a ton of workers, man. I don't know how they lost so many workers, but I guess Rain just threw a lot of them away to try and hold off this force from JJ, but I'm guessing there's just been a lot of harassment as well. I mean, we've seen a Zealot down here attacking, and he's actually going to take out the command center, so I don't know, JJ, man, lift up your command center. It seems silly that he's not doing that. It's not a planetary, it's an orbital. He's obviously putting 100% of his micro into this battle. The Zealots coming out, and once again forcing these guys away. As soon as the Zealots fall back, these guys do sort of chase after them. But finally, Rain gets a little bit of an advantage, chooses to push it, goes in, takes the victory right there. And I must apologise, I missed out like a ton of worker kills, but I think a lot of them were defensive from Rain sending his workers out. And a lot of them, I think the ones that JJ lost are probably just Zealots running into his base. Because he didn't seem to be doing that good a job of defending his base from those Zealots. I mean, yeah, this base got destroyed by a single Zealot, so that's about as bad as you can get. So anyway, there we go. That's been an awesome game. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you guys tomorrow with another one. So stay tuned for that. This has been Hairy Muppet, and I hope you enjoyed this game.